the Robert Burns Museum later in the programme. But first, on the 24th of July last year, more than 80,000 people around the world shot videos of what they were doing throughout their day. Each filmmaker uploaded their footage to a YouTube site in the hope that a slice of their life would make it to the big screen. The result, Life in a Day, is a 90-minute collage of people waking up, making breakfast, going to work, laughing, dancing, fighting and dying in different countries around the world.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour.
The sad part is I spent all day long hoping for something amazing to happen, something great. But the truth is, it doesn't always happen.
I live in Afghanistan, Kabul, and I'm a news photographer.
It's 24 July.
And what a day it is.
It's the best day ever.
Produced by brothers Tony and Ridley Scott, the film is directed by Kevin MacDonald, best known for the documentaries Touching the Void and One Day in September. Alex Krotowski, who writes about digital media, watched Life in a Day for Front Row. She said it was a film about the shared experiences of humanity.
There was this one beautiful moment where it really struck me. And this is really good news for the egg industry. But it seemed that every single person, every single frame, every single scene that they had that represented the breakfast moment in the Life in the Day was people making eggs of some sort. And there were some really nice elements that I thought that were pieced together. The story arc, the tapestry of human life. But I do have to think about the frame through which the filmmaker made this. They would have seen all of this footage, something like 4,500 hours of footage, which when you think that it's narrowed down to 95 minutes, it's extraordinary. And they would have picked out the best bits that did create that narrative that probably was in their heads. The director, Kevin Head. So you do have to kind of recognise that he's still storytelling. And he's
it's still an
using.
authored film, even though
Absolutely.
this is a film that is user-generated content.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, it's a crowd-sourced film, one which taps into the ideas of, the we generation of YouTube, of Wikipedia, but it's a film of our times in a way, isn't it?
It is, except for the fact that it's still relatively opaque. And it goes back to this notion of the authored film. It goes back to the notion of the single author of storytelling. Even though there are many, many authors of each individual piece, it's still Kevin MacDonald's film. And what I would really like to see is I would like to see a compendium of all of the 4,500. It would take me a long time to get through it, as I'm sure it took a long time for the editors to get through it. But also to allow people to remix and make their own versions using the same footage. I think that would really create this kind of online film of the now, film of our generation, film of the web, as it originated, as it tried to be.
I thought what was very telling was during the screening, the room echoed with gasps of amazement over the course of 90 minutes. People were watching this film and either shrieking with laughter, gasping, or recoiling in horror at some of the scenes.
There's a couple of scenes in particular that are pretty wow.
And there's one sequence featuring 3 young African girls, and they are beating grain into flour using 3 very large mallets, and it creates and provides this rhythmic soundtrack over the course of about 5 minutes, cut together with images of work from other parts of the world. I thought that was pure filmmaking poetry.
It was. I've got goosebumps just thinking about that particular moment because they're singing as well. It's really evocative. It's very beautiful.
If you're going to be cynical, though, you could argue that, it's a 90-minute insurance ad. It looks like a Benetton ad. It's all, you half expect, it's very inspiring, it's very moving, but you half expect a voiceover.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There wasn't a lot that wasn't beautifully shot on beautifully high quality film.
Yeah, there's a lot of high definition filmmaking going on.
Certainly. You didn't see a lot of technological dropout that I think ultimately did make it feel quite shiny.
Although we do see birth, we see life, we see work, and we see death.
Yes,
and the sequence in Germany that starts off with the love parade, the gay parade, and we see these images of shiny, happy, smiling faces, and as soon as you see that bridge, when there's thousands of people pouring into this enclosed space, you think, I know what happened here. Of course, a lot of people got crushed to death, and it's a moment of absolute horror because you know what's about to happen.
But you juxtapose that with some of the scenes that he set in, say, Afghanistan and the war-torn areas that we're familiar with, where people are introducing their world and saying, well, most people see, I'm a war photographer, most people think of Afghanistan as this war-torn place, but here's my version of Afghanistan. So you do see that it's nicely juxtaposed so that you do have the horror of the crowd, but then also the triumph of the human spirit to to make it sound, like make a Hollywood movie.
And in the way that it's been brought together, using all these snippets of film, does this point the way to filmmaking of the future?
Absolutely not. No. I think that this is a one-off. I mean, the Beastie Boys did a similar exercise. So we've seen these kinds of experiences. We've seen filmmakers try and play around with this notion of crowdsourcing. This just so happens to be the most high-profile one at the moment.
But well worth watching, though.
Oh, certainly. You know, there's pathos, and then there's, you know, true love, and there's emotion. There were bits where I was crying. There were bits where, you know, I was horrified. It feels emotionally quite rich and seductive, but I don't think that this is going to be the future.
Thanks to Alex Krotowski. Life in a Day opens across the UK on Friday, Certificate 12A. Ever since Frank